Hi, welcome back to art class. This is Mrs. Poel. So today we have a little guest right here. This is my baby Holly, and she's going to be running around while I do the video. And also we have a kitty in the background right here. So if you hear any voices or noises, just know that it's one of those two, so you don't have to worry. So today we're going to be working with two...
Can I have a puppy?
Yes, you can. Today we're going to be working with two ideas. One is observing. Observing means to carefully look at something. And the other is shapes. And that is one of the elements of art, and we will review that.
But first, it's art history time.
Hello, Leonardo.
Well, hello there.
So today we're going to also be talking about the artist Leonardo da Vinci because he was a master of observing. Observing means to look carefully at something. And it is a very important task for artists because it allows us to look at the shapes, look at the textures, and draw or paint them accurately. And also observing the world around us gives us inspirations and ideas for our artwork. Leonardo da Vinci is an Italian artist, and he is a Renaissance painter. Renaissance artwork is usually very, very realistic because they did not have photographs at that time. So they painted instead of taking pictures to preserve images. He had interest in a lot of things. He was a scientist, a mathematician, he painted, he sculpted, and he also invented a lot of things. Some of his most famous paintings include the Mona Lisa, the Last Supper, and this big horse sculpture that's in the Meyer Garden. It's not by Leonardo da Vinci, but it was inspired by his drawings. And here's the original drawing that he did. You can see that he really looks carefully to the types of muscles that the horses have and how they stand. And that really shows in his artwork that he is a great observer. Now let's review the element of shape. The element of shape is one of the elements of art, which are the little parts that make up an artwork. Last week, if you're at Thornapple Elementary, Mrs. Hayes reviewed the element of line. So today we're going to move on to shape. If you're at Meadow Elementary, we have been talking about shapes and lines. And a quick review is that lines have a beginning and an end, and shapes are closed. If it's open, it's a line, and if it's closed, it is a shape. The reason why I'm combining the idea of observing and the element of shape for this week's lesson is because it is very important to be able to observe the shapes and in order to draw accurately. So today it's going to be a drawing lesson, but if you would like to apply some of your painting skills, that is okay too. This week's assignment is very simple. We're going to be doing a still life drawing. A still life drawing is a drawing of things that are still, that don't move. So it's not going to be a drawing of a person or a pet. It's going to be of some objects that do not move. And I would like you to pick at least 3 different objects, with one being a little bit more complicated, like my little guy right here. So a toy would work great, or anything that's not just a sphere or just a cylinder, something a little bit more complicated. Once you've pictured 3 or more objects, I would like you to make a composition. A composition is how you arrange the objects in your artwork. And I would like your composition to include some overlapping. That means that some of your objects are going to be in front of another, not side by side, because that's kind of a boring composition. So make sure there's at least some overlapping in your objects. Here's my composition, and you can see that I have 3 or more objects, one of them being a little bit more complicated than the others, and there's some overlapping. Before I show you the drawing, I'm going to show you how to break down your composition into simple shapes. Even though this composition might look kind of complicated, actually there's a lot of shapes that are very simple. There's the ovals for the top of the cylinders, there's circles, there's a crescent shape, a rectangle, and even the more complicated objects can be broken down into very simple shapes. The arms are rectangles, the fingers are just a bunch of ovals, and same with the feet.
Once you finish drawing the basic shapes that you see, then you're going to connect those shapes with some lines. So here I'm showing you those lines in the orange color. The last step is to add details. Those are things like texture and some decorations. If you see anything in your objects, that is the last thing you will want to add. When you work on your projects, you don't have to repeat that process that I just did, but I would like you to do the same thing in your head by very carefully observing your composition and thinking about the shapes that you think you might be using in your drawing. First, very lightly sketch in the big shapes that you see in your objects. Make sure to go light till you get it right and work from big to small. Next, trace over your sketch with a darker pencil line. Also, don't forget to draw something on the table. I have a piece of paper under my composition, so I could draw that. If you have a placemat or even the edge of the table, will ground your object so that it doesn't look like it's floating. When you're finished with your drawing, it is time to add your medium of choice to finish your drawing. I decided to keep using pencil as my medium to finish. I wanted to show you guys that you don't really need a bunch of different art mediums in order to make artwork. Just pencil and paper can create beautiful effects. With pencil, I am adding one of the elements of art, value. Value is dark and light parts of your drawing. I'm just using one pencil, so where I want it to be dark, I just press down harder, and where I want it to be light, I keep the paper white or press down very, very lightly. Try to use the side of your pencil when you're adding value so that you don't see the pencil marks. The closer your strokes are together, the more neater it's going to look. Another little tip I have is to keep your pencil sharp. The sharper your pencil is, the easier it is to get into little detail parts, and also it makes your pencil strokes look neater. Finally, I'm going to be adding some cast shadows. Cast shadows are the shadows that are on whatever your object is sitting on. So in my case, the piece of paper on the table. Adding a cast shadow grounds your objects better. Grounding means that it doesn't look like it's floating and it looks like it's sitting on something. And also it makes it look more three-dimensional and realistic.
Here's a recap of our assignment for the week. We're doing an observational drawing. We're going to focus on observing the shapes carefully, trying to draw as accurately as we can with some overlapping in our composition, and finish your artwork with your medium of choice. I showed you how to do a value drawing with pencil because last time I showed you some colored stuff. I thought I would change it up a little bit, but you can add color instead of value, or you can try both. You can paint. You can even add some designs in the back. It is all up to you as long as you're focusing on observing our shapes. I am excited to see what you guys come up with. Please share your work with our Zoom meetings or through Artsonia, or you could email me as well. Hope you have fun. See you!